Welcome back to the Leaders Lead podcast. I feel like our last conversation was very good that I would like to continue again. And I feel like it's a message that people would need to hear more about. There's one thing that we spoke about. We spoke about a lot of things in our previous episode. We spoke about your childhood, where you grew up, how it has influenced your life, and ultimately your leadership. There's one thing that you mentioned in our conversation. You said how versatility is one of the greatest characteristics of a leader.
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about it, but I feel like people really need to understand the importance of being like water.
Yeah.
And to be a leader that is appropriate for a particular time or particular season.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
They say that leaders are born. I beg to differ, that leaders are made. And so it's a skill that's learned, as John Maxwell rightly put it, the law of process. It's a process of learning through trial and error, but over time you realize that one size doesn't fit all. And in so learning, you've got the choice to make to adapt yourself into the different contexts and the different situations that you are faced with. Leaders, like we mentioned in the last episode, in times of crisis, needs a totally different mindset altogether. Leadership in the good times, that needs to pivot. Because if you still bring in the old pressurized leadership style, you will, if I may put it this way, you'll piss people off. Because you lack empathy, you always want things done like yesterday. And say if you're dealing with Generation Z, you're in for trouble when you bring in such a leadership style to enforce upon them. Like we understand leadership to be influence, but influence could be mistaken for manipulation. And manipulation is when you are looking at your selfish gain more than the gain of the people that you're leading. So these are all the nuances in leadership that we must navigate and understand. And I think Proverbs is very clear. So wisdom is the principal thing, but in all you're getting, get understanding. So understanding the different archetypes of leadership that are available and putting them in your toolkit. And then, like a good mechanic, using the appropriate tool for the appropriate moment, which will bring about effectiveness in your leadership or in my leadership.
How important is research in all of this?
Immensely important. Because we don't know everything there is to know, but research always replenishes our toolkit with what is effective at that point in time. Principles don't change, methodologies do. And when our principles are intact, you keep sharpening your axe by changing the methodologies to suit the situation that you're in at any given time. So research is massively important, whether it's reading or on YouTube University or attending symposiums or researching in the library at USP. The hunger for knowledge must drive us to becoming better versions of ourselves as leaders.
There's a thin line between manipulation and influence.
Yes.
Tell us the difference.
Influence usually is associated with positive influence, but influence can be negative as well.
Yeah.
So I always contend that Hitler was a good leader.
Whoa.
In the sense,
Yeah.
not because of the negative things, the atrocious things that he had committed, but the fact that he could marshal that scale of followers to implement his hideous plans. And so when we look at it, it is really not influence in the sense of the positive influence that we are acquainted with now. It was more manipulation. The use of fear to get your own will done or to benefit you as an individual, to further your atrocious vision or your insidious plans. You can sell that to the masses to serve your purpose. That's manipulation. Influence, on the other hand, is that I sell you the vision, and without coercing you, give you the opportunity to think for yourself, and you buy into it on your own volition. Because you see that you can be a part of this, and it's something that resonates with you. And then you follow, not under duress, but your choice. And so for me, that demarcates the difference between influence and manipulation. And other people can define it better, but that for me has been the hallmark of my understanding of manipulation and influence.
Can a leader start off with influence and end up being manipulative?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What causes them to go in that direction?
I mean, think about it. We've been acquainted with politicians all our lives. And I don't doubt the fact that when they campaign, they have noble ideas behind their campaign, yeah? But what have we learned from history? Those noble campaigns automatically get lost the moment you are swallowed up by a system. A system that we probably did not anticipate would be such. So you can start off well, but if you're not self-aware to keep bringing yourself back to the vision and the principles that you're planted on, it's easy to be swept away by selfish ambition eventually, because change is the only constant. And if you're not careful, we can be swept away. And all of us have the propensity to fall into that. We can start off well, but if we're not anchored by something higher and greater than the vision that we have, it's easy to be swept away. It happens in the church, it happens in politics, it happens anywhere. We've got to be self-aware. And besides being self-aware, just as Daniel Goleman put the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation. When you realize that you are tilting toward leaving the noble idea that you started off with, and you're becoming manipulative, you and I have the ability to self-regulate. They turn it down. Not going to happen. I'm not going to allow this to happen, because this is where I am. Because we can be diverted by riches, fortune, fame. All these things can divert us from the noble beginnings that we had. We step in and we see, wow, like a child in a candy shop. And you see all the options that are available. You can easily forget what you set out to do in the first place. So we've got to be very self-aware of why we think the way we think, where we're headed. Are we on the right track to achieving what we set out to achieve? And if we're not, the second pillar of emotional intelligence is the ability to self-regulate. Turn that knob down. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn that idea off, because it's not serving the noble purpose that I set out to do in the first place. And then there's the third one, which is motivation. You motivate yourself and you motivate others. The fourth being empathy, always thinking about the people that you're leading, what they're facing. And if you're going to do this, what about them? What's the impact on them? And then the fifth one is the social connections. No man is an island. We're always going to be needing each other, seeing each other. Can I stand up later on and face you face to face and say, I've run the race. I've done what I set out to do. And here's the baton. I know when to exit and when to pass the baton on to you. That's what emotional intelligence does to a leader.
I'm going to go back to that in a bit, because I feel like there's an opportunity for us to teach people about succession plan. But all the pillars that you've explained is things that you can do on your own. Is it also possible for you to have an external power that will be able to help you navigate, not only navigate, but be aware of where you are and how you can get yourself back?
Absolutely. I think that's our anchor when we understand that we have a source who can lead us in what the psalmist says, the path of righteousness for his namesake, if we put it that way. If we don't have a power greater than us that we hinge our leadership on, or the standard by which we always measure our leadership by, there's the likelihood of us getting lost in the myriad of challenges that will face us as leaders out there. The challenges and the things that vie for our time, our attention. We can get lost in all of that and forget our basic role as a leader. But if we come back to the humble state of understanding why we're there, who called us there, you are always in safe company when you know it's not about you, it's about the people that you lead and the one that you will glorify at the end of it all.
Wow, that's very powerful. Let's go to succession planning. Because I feel like I've worked with a few organizations, and one weakness that I see in most organizations is when leaders think that they've got it all. This is the vision that I have for this organization. I'm going to move it forward. They're so focused on their goal that they don't realize that they've got an expiration date. How important is succession planning, and how do you see people passing on the baton to those that are going to follow?
Yeah, Psalm 90:12 comes to mind. And Moses is saying here to teach us to number our days so that our heart would gain wisdom. Teach us to number our days. I think that's wisdom when we realize we have an expiry date. We're not here forever. But I've always been taught that the moment you start in your position, start grooming your successor as well. Good leaders.
So you begin together?
You start together.
Wow.
Yeah. Good leaders always groom their successors the moment they take on a role, take on a position, because they know that they are not forever. They're not indispensable either. You can drop dead tomorrow. What's the continuity plan? You got to have a protege that's learning alongside you. You're pouring into that person, mentoring that person, so that when you're gone, the place will not miss you. You know, sometimes we have this mentality, when I'm gone, this place will miss me. That's a very poor mindset.
Wow.
You should transition and no one's felt you've left. Why? Because your successor just seamlessly. See, but the pride and the selfishness in us is always to be about us. When I leave this company, then you will know what you're missing. No, it's not about you. It's not about me. When the best companies or the best organizations is when the leader transitions, it just transitions seamlessly. And you're not felt. And that is the humility that is missing in today's world. Because people make it about me, myself, and I. I built this, I built that. But it's not isolation. We depend on one another. Yeah, it's flattering, right?
Yeah.
I think I built this from scratch. But I think best leaders transition with their successors entail to take on the baton. Like the relay, remember the school relays? The best relays in the world are the ones where the baton is transitioned smoothly. And that's the difference between a second for the gold medal or the silver.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very mind-blowing when you think about it, because I feel like almost everyone just says, I really want to know, because I think they associate their value with how their absence is going to be felt when they leave. And now you're saying that it shouldn't be felt. It has to be a seamless transition. Now that is for a leader, but for those that are stepping into that role, how do you think they should navigate or maneuver around staying true to trying to follow their predecessors, predecessors, and what they've done in the past, but also bringing their own twist and unique vision to that particular role.
Absolutely. Never be a clone of a leader, because when you do that, then you cease to be yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? Be yourself. Because the principles don't change. The methodology changes. So your method of leading or doing things might be different. It doesn't have to clone the leader that's gone before you. But one of the things that you can maintain is living the principles, which is rock solid in developing your own style, your own identity, guided by the vision of the organization that you're working for, or the government, or whatever sphere of influence you're in. Don't lose yourself by trying to be a clone of somebody else. Because if you become a clone of somebody else, then who's going to be you? The unique creation you were meant to be, and to lead the way you were meant to lead. So never lose yourself. Take on the principles, apply them, but be the unique you that you were meant to be. So say, for instance, if you're a flamboyant, you're always, you're an extrovert, and your predecessor was an introvert. You don't have to become an introvert. Be yourself. Laugh when you need to laugh. Speak when you need to speak. But the principles of leadership remains the same. Continuously improving, continuously learning, continuously mentoring. I think one of the things that we can learn from good predecessors is our ability to pour into the next generation who's going to come over to take our place. Also taking on the mentality that I'm not here forever, but when I leave this place, will I leave it better than I found it? And I hand it over better to the person that's coming behind me. So you don't lose your personality, you don't lose your uniqueness by becoming a clone of the predecessor, but you take on the principles, because the principles are universal. So we take global principles and we contextualize them into our little MSMEs, our corporate organizations, or our religious organizations. That is still applicable right across the board.
Without naming any names, I worked under someone who, during my tenure in that particular organization, she was very, I don't know how to say this, but like not a leader that really is micromanaging to the next level. She is someone that I say I never want to work for again. But then after a couple of years, when she left the organization, I left the organization, we become friends. And I told her this, like, well, you've become two different people. Like the person that I know who was my leader, and now we've become friends. And she said, I had to become a different person in order for you to get the work done. What do you say to that type of mentality? For those that think that they have to be ruthless when they've become a leader, just so that they can get the work done. But then in turn, like if you have to look at them from a different angle, and when they are put in a different setting, they become a whole different person. I mean, I'm asking for myself here, because I feel like this is, I don't understand how, someone can just code switch.
Yeah. And I think that's a classic example of cloning, right? So I'm a perfectionist, and I expect you to be a perfectionist as well.
Yeah.
So when you're not doing as I want and expect to the T, I become fidgety, and fear drives me to micromanage. The problem with that is that I've learned that doers, those who are constantly doing, become bad leaders. Because leading is empowering. I empower you to do the work that's there. How you do it, I will leave that to your creativity. These are the guidelines. You work within those guidelines. The creativity is yours. And I will trust that you're going to do the work, right? And if I'm an empowering leader, I allow you to do it and then just guide you, but not micromanage. But if I'm a doer, I will say, okay, just leave it, I'll do it. So you're not leading, you come back and you're doing. And so that's why they say doers become bad leaders, because they will drop their leadership position to come to micromanage something that they're not supposed to be putting their hands to. Definition of leadership in another sense is that you are on the bridge of a ship, so to speak. and your eyes supposed to be fixed on the horizon to map and to navigate the ship's journey. But imagine if you are abandoning your position on the bridge to constantly check on the engineers in the engine room. You're going to hit an iceberg, or you're going to hit something that will cost that ship everybody on board. So it's driven by fear most of the time, plus the tendency to be a perfectionist. And it's a leadership style that's not empowering. Because here's what I'm saying to you. I don't trust you. So that's why I got to micromanage you. So why hire me in the first place? If you're going to hire me, let me do my work. That for me is a leadership style that has plenty of room for improvement. But unless you want to improve, you'll continue the way you are, micromanaging. Yeah, disempowering, because it will, I mean, how did you feel? You probably felt, I
never want to work in that place again.
It's so limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's quite different if you are led by a leader that says, here's the scope, unleash your creativity. Boom. You know, and you achieve your targets, and everybody's happy, simply because you're empowered. And I think that's what we need in the leadership spaces today, is to hire the right people. Because if I'm micromanaging, that means I'm saying to you, I hired the wrong person, you don't have the right skills, might as well fire me. But don't micromanage me, empower me to be the best version of me doing the job that I've been called to do or hired to do.
In 5 or 10 years' time, if we have to look to the future for this country or in any organization, in order for us to move from where we are to where we need to be in a place where everyone's happy, people are blessed, what type of mentality should leaders have right now in order for us to change gradually to become a country that we can be proud of, or an organization that we can be proud of in 5 to 10 years' time?
Leaders are supposed to be generational thinkers. You're not just thinking tomorrow, you're thinking generations. So generation is about 40 years. You know, it's not just 5, 10 years, but generational thinkers. You start to set the tone now to see through a generation that's better, that's going to achieve better than us. So you see, the next generation is supposed to be better than us. But I think if we come in with a mentality that these people won't be better then you're already contradicting the growth that's required for the next generation. So we're always in competition, the sin of comparison. But if you come with this open mind that you're going to invest in generations to come, that will change the ball game, because you become an empowering leader that's always investing in people's growth and identifying talent and growing talent and making them believe that they are capable, much more capable than you are, to run into the future and make this place a better place. But if we're going to hold on to power without knowing when to transition, that too is a big problem, right? Because this mentality is, I can't trust these young ones. I don't know where they're going to take this organization or they're going to take this nation. We should be in a place where we can trust the younger generation because of the way we have invested in them. I think we don't trust the younger generation because we are guilty of not empowering them in the way that they should go. We'd rather control them so that they can serve our purpose, but have we empowered them to take over from us and look better than us and be better than us? Are we willing to concede, to say that the next generation is going to be better than us? But sometimes in our mentality, in our culture, no, these guys won't be better than me, I will be. That is in itself poor self-leadership. Self-leadership will get you to understand that my days will come to an end. I'd rather expose these ones to become better versions of themselves, because they're going to become better than me, to serve this nation, to serve this organization, and take this organization to the next level. So it's service without fear. It's leading without fear, and with your eyes way ahead in generational terms.
There's something that you mentioned that I would like to focus on, the sin of comparison. You know, where the marketplace is, it's a different ballgame where, competitors are at each other's throats trying to make their product visible or their services visible. But a leader, like you mentioned, when they have that mentality, having the sin of comparison, it can work against them in a very negative way, or is there a positive side to them?
See, comparison limits you from focusing on what you have been assigned to accomplish. Okay. Because you're comparing this one, oh, they're better than me. What have you done? You have taken your eyes off of the prize that you're supposed to be serving and looking this way and looking this way. End up, you don't move forward because you will find yourself in the same position, say 10 years from now, because you are fearful of moving forward because you're not as good as them, you're not as good as them, and you develop the imposter syndrome that reminds you every morning that you're not good as so-and-so, you're not good as so-and-so. That is the term I use, the sin of comparison, because understanding is lacking. When we understand that the corporate world is a game, and if you don't know how to play the game, you get crushed. Life, when you look at it, some might beg to differ, and that's okay. But I find life is a game. Are you ready to play the game? Are you equipped to play the game? How are you equipped to play the game? Knowledge. Knowledge and investing in knowledge and investing in knowledge. And that's why Leaders Lead Symposium is an opportunity to learn how to play the game, both in the corporate world, in the marketplace, because it's a different ball game altogether. You can't bring your knowledge of playing the game in a different game into although there's some things that were similar, you can't play the total game. Soccer into rugby. The training is different. The dieting is different. And so the same principle applies when you're in the corporate world, MSMEs, or NGOs. You got to know how to play the game, or you got to know how to speak the language in order to advance successfully. And so I would always advocate that you and I continuously be perpetual learners, hungry for learning, being aware of what's happening around you and not being isolated in your silo and expecting to grow in your silo. No one grows in a silo mentality. But exposure does increase increase the probability of your growth, getting to converse with you and learning off of you. You see, networking is not just networking. Networking is actually intelligence gathering. Never waste a networking opportunity. When we're talking, I'm networking, I get to know you, but what can I glean off of you that will help replenish my toolkit? And that's why Leaders Lead Symposium is such a big thing for us, because this is not only a networking opportunity, but intelligence gathering, proximity, energizing, and inspiration. And I think the whole vision is that we will build leaders in the Pacific that will be so resilient and will take the Pacific to the next level in terms of geopolitical situations, in terms of business and economic growth. That's the vision that we have at Leaders Lead.
So your line of work has really brought you into the presence of great people, but also people in general that come to you for advice and also for just to have a conversation. You mentioned that leaders are not born, they are made. Have you gotten to a stage now where you know that you've got the ability to pick out potential in people that you know, I can work with this person to become a great leader? Is that character that you build, or you think that you've got that skill now?
A bit. And I think one of the things I look for is the willingness to learn.
Okay.
Teachability. That's one of the traits I look for. If a person hangs back, I wouldn't want to force them to learn. I've got to sense or see in you a tendency to want to know more. And it doesn't have to be, I want to know more, but just proximity. you see them in conferences and you see this person in a conference, oh, this person's been here. They might not talk much, but they are, like what I mentioned earlier, a person who's constantly gathering intelligence is a person I'd like to identify and pour into.
Okay.
Because they already show the acumen for learning.
Okay.
The last thing you want is to try and force people to learn something they don't want to be a part of. So identifying talent in that regard, wanting to be the best version of themselves, being a servant, serving other people's vision, those are the kinds that, to me, are putting their hands up and saying, I want to learn more. And those are the ones I'm happy to invest in.
For those that are probably going out on networking sessions, or what do you call it, intelligence gathering?
Intelligence gathering, yeah.
Intelligence gathering. What are some of the questions that they need to be equipped with or to ask in different networking sessions, just so that they can get more information out of someone that they're meeting for the first time?
Oh, excellent. I think we've got to evolve from the small talk of how you're doing.
Oh my God, guilty.
Just to, I think that's now past its use by date. And John Maxwell rightly puts, you ask great questions, you'll get great answers. And one of the things I encourage those that I mentor is ask questions such as, what's exciting about your day? What are you looking forward to achieve in the next 2 months or in 2026? Are there exciting projects that you're about to enter into? Those are conversation starters that attract people who don't want to waste time, and they know that you are intentional about your asking and not just, how's your day? How's it? Those are cliches now. And so asking questions about what's exciting them at this point in time. What new projects are they investing their time in? I think that puts you on a good stead to start making inroads into intelligence collecting that's worth your while.
Wow.
Yeah.
For leaders that are looking to build their team, and the interview, let's hypothetically speaking, you're about to hire people to come and work for you. As a leader, what type of character you're looking for in just a short span of time that you would confirm to you that this is the person I would like to work for me? What are some of the characteristics that you can see from those that are coming for that interview that you know, I would like to hire this person immediately?
One is the attitude that they present themselves with, the presence of enthusiasm, the ability to ask great questions, and also the ability to listen. And you can test their listening skills by asking them to repeat what you've just said or put it into their own words. Another thing that you can gauge is their ability to research the organization before coming in for that interview, knowing the vision of the company and seeing themselves fit into that vision or where they can improve in the implementation of that vision. What do they bring to the table? Because it's easy to just talk about yourself and all your accolades and but what can you add value to in terms of the business that you're seeking to be hired in?
In terms of leadership, sir, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest
pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve in leadership. One that keeps me steady and not anxious and not fearful is the second law of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John Maxwell, and that's the law of process. That everything that happens for a reason, that success is not overnight. It's a process of learning and growing. There are times when you might have to take one step back to take 3 steps forward because it's a process. And that calms me down to know that Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built every day. That's the process that I go through mentally when the task seems insurmountable. It's the self-talk. I say that's a process, you'll get through it, and it may not be today, but you'll eventually get there. So yeah, it calms my amygdala down from the fight or flight mode that it might be in at any given challenging time.
How important is support system for you?
Oh, it's huge. You know, we are social beings, and no man is an island. No man can survive in the silo. The support system around you is applicable when you're stuck. It's for the rainy season, it's for the sunshine. To always know that there's someone in your corner, that someone's got your back. And not only got your back in the good times, but support system to correct you. To correct you when they feel that you are kind of erring. You know, that is one of the greatest blessings of having a support system. Someone that can speak or have the courageous conversations with you when they feel that you probably are deviating from the path. That for me is one of the greatest blessings of having a support system. Imagine when you don't have a support system and you're going on your own, you know, and you would have heard in the news lately, the big four of leaders. When you look deep into their organizations, they never had a bouncing board or a covering above them that served as a support system. It's easy to get support system when people pat you on the back. You know, that's good, it has its place. But I think the most essential is when we are erring from the path or when we're deviating and you come up to me and say, Moses, I think we got to have this conversation. This is not looking good. And I must also have the capacity to be teachable, the humility to know, okay, he's got my best interest. He's part of my support system. That's why he's here. Thank you. I appreciate that. When you listen and when you're humble, you'll go a long way. So for me, support system is huge. Whether it's family or partners in a business or friends, you'll always know the ones that genuinely have your back, because they can tell you in the good times and they can speak directly to you when you are being foolish or unreasonable.
For those that are watching the Leaders Lead podcast presented by SALT for the first time, and they're watching this episode, we've talked about comparison, we've talked about succession planning, we've talked about manipulation and influencing. If they can take one message with them from this podcast, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm thankful to SALT for releasing these powerful podcasts. And to your question, I'd like them to understand what I've always been harping about. And that is, you can't, leaders are always learning. So never stop learning, never stop reading, and keep reinventing yourself. But importantly, if you can't lead yourself, you are in no position to lead anybody else. And if you can't lead anybody else, then definitely you can't lead change. So be a good leader of yourself. Be aware of your thoughts, have the ability or develop the ability to self-regulate your thoughts. Be a good motivator, always encouraging people. Be a connector who's empathetic, and always know that social networks are not only meant for networks, but for you to gather as much information as you can about yourself and about others so that you can navigate life better.
Your last message to those that are watching today, sir?
Attend the Leaders Lead Symposium. Proximity is everything. And I can guarantee you one thing. I don't guarantee much, but I can guarantee you this. Growth happens when you surround yourself with people who are successful and will share their lived experience right within this range. And don't hesitate anymore. Don't think, because the greatest investment that you and I can ever do is investing in ourselves for the year 2026 and beyond.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Nava Levitevita, thanks for having me.